You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh, yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
Well, it's been over a week since I've done a podcast, and I have a good excuse. I have a really good excuse. I'm going to tell you what that excuse is. I have a cold. And normally I never get sick. I haven't been sick since I was a kid. But somehow, I came down with a cold. And I know the reason why. It's because I goofed up. And that is, it was raining. It was raining cats and dogs here. It's always raining cats and dogs. You notice my sexy voice? That's what happens when you have a cold. You get a lower voice. And I haven't had a voice for almost a week now. And so what happened is I went outside. It was raining. I was trying to get my dogs outside to let them do their thing before they did it inside the house. So I pushed them outside, and when I pushed them outside, I pushed myself outside to go out with them. Well, the problem is I got wet, and when I came inside, I had the conditioning on, and I got chilled. And I came down with this cold. No fever, no chills. No chills from fevers. Just a bad head cold, a runny nose, no voice. And that's it. Oh, I was a little fatigued. I was tired. A little tired. But not for very long. I just slept. I said, you know what? The best way to get rid of a cold is to do a lot of sleeping. So I only had 2 mediation sessions that I had to do, and that was late into the evening on Friday. So I slept. I slept from Wednesday until Friday morning, then prepared for the mediation. Had the mediation, then went right back to bed, and then slept all day Saturday. And I've gotten rid of most of the cold. I still don't have a voice, but it's slowly coming back. But I'm so thankful because, I was telling people, I'm not feeling well. Oh, you've got COVID. Immediately they jumped to having COVID. And then I began to think in my mind, oh my God, maybe I do have COVID. But I didn't. I didn't have COVID at all. I just had this stupid cold because of my stupid actions of getting wet and then cold all at the same time. My fault. My bad. My cold. Listen, over the weekend, I put on the radio. And I listened to a whole bunch of radio stations. And luckily, on my bed, I've got Alexa. So I just say, Alexa, play KFI, or Alexa, play WIXI, or whatever it is. And I was listening to all the commentary and everybody talking. And one of the things that I truly began to realize is that we do not have journalism anymore. I only know about 2 that I respect at the moment in journalism. People on the radio doing commentary like me, I am not journalism. I am entertainment. Rush Limbaugh is not journalism, that is entertainment. The problem is that we have not individuals, but we have organizations like CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and CBS and all these news outlets, or supposedly news outlets, that are out there that should be digging in to the news. But they have strayed far from that, far from a journalistic ability. Their now whole focus is pure politics and how they can destroy someone. It's not about reporting the news or what crimes are happening, what's happening in Congress, or what bills are before the nation's Congress. They're not talking about any of that. What's happening locally in the state governments or locally in the family neighborhoods. It's nothing like that. Their journalistic ability has completely gone. Their ethics of journalism is gone. I wrote a book, and I don't know if you guys have read my book, but it's called Ethically Thinking. It's Not That Hard. It's by Michael Lodge, which is me. It's on Amazon.com. You can buy it there. I'll say it again. Ethically Thinking. It's Not That Hard by Michael Lodge. One of the chapters in my book is about the media. And it's chapter 5, The Ethics of the Media. And so I went to, there's an organization out there, which I'm assuming that the majority of journalists are members of. It's called the Society of Professional Journalists. And they have a code of ethics. So I was reading through the code of ethics. The very first one on their code: seek truth and report it. Ethical journalism should be accurate and fair. Journalists should be honest and courageous in gathering, reporting, and interpreting information. Journalists should take responsibility for the accuracy of their work. Verify information before releasing it. Use original sources whenever possible. Remember that neither speed nor format excuses inaccuracy. Provide context. Take special care not to misrepresent or oversimplify in promoting, previewing, or summarizing a story. Gather, update the correct information throughout the life of the news story. Be cautious when making promises, but keep the promises they make. Identify sources clearly. The public is entitled to as much information as possible to judge the reliability and motivations of sources. And the Code of Ethics goes on. The problem is, everything within that Code of Ethics, journalists are no longer doing. Journalists are no longer journalists. They are commentators. They are political agenda pushers. They are individuals who want their political stances known. But that's not what a journalist is supposed to do. So we have unknown sources being published in a lot of newspaper articles. Something did something per a unknown source, or a source that's being hidden or protected. The problem is that's not how journalism is. We just saw, or we just read in their ethics, is that these unknown sources, or these sources, all sources, should be known by the public, which is you and me. But it's not done. So the Code of Ethics on professional journalism is out the door. It's gone. And it's sad to see. We have news stories in the media, on some medias, on independent media mostly, about Joe Biden and his son. National security, which is a national security issue. But no one's reporting it, except independent news sources, local stations. Mainstream media refuses to even investigate it. Instead, what they do is they provide commentary that it's saying that it's part of a Russian conspiracy. Which is what they said. Which is what they said about Donald Trump. And then we found out it was all a lie. And every single day, we find out that it's a lie. More and more and more. Just 1 second. Had to drink a cup of coffee, sorry. But we find out about this every single day. And now we find out that there is a laptop that has been found, that has been turned over to the FBI, which the FBI has had since last year, but did nothing about it. But journalists have decided that Trump is bad. Biden is what they want. They want somebody that they can control. They want somebody that is easy to manipulate. And we don't even hear reports. Why isn't Joe Biden out campaigning more? He put a lid on it. And I think they've put a lid on it until after the election. Why is it that Joe Biden is not going out there and meeting the people of America, but yet the media is doing all of his work for him? They're not supposed to take sides. If you read the ethics of the Society of Journalists, you're not supposed to take sides. You're not supposed to give your opinions. You're supposed to report the news. So we have an unethical media at the moment. And it's not just on like CNN and MSNBC, but it's also with Fox News too. They do the same thing. Fox News and CNN are no longer journalists, but commentators and entertainers. And that's basically what they are. So what has happened is that it's opened up a several doors for independent people who want to spread the news or report the news. But then again, on that side, it leans either way. So again, we're not getting pure reporting of news. When I was a kid, we would be eating dinner, and that would be the time that we would watch the news. It was 30 minutes to an hour, depending on who you were watching. But that's all we got. We had no 24-hour news service. We had no CNN. We had no Fox. We had nothing like that. The other part of our news gathering was through the newspaper. Or in grade school, we even got school newspapers that told us what was going on. But we never had a organization. Looking back on it now, though, I must say that maybe Dan Rather was a little bit led us off the path of journalism. Because he was no longer reporting the news, he was giving commentary. How hard is it to be a journalist and go, ask the questions, come back and report it? Now they ask questions that are stupid questions. They come back and then they don't report it. They write a story. And that story is how they feel. Not about the people who were around them or that they were with at that time, but it's about how that journalist or so-called journalist feels about the subject he's writing about. So there is no reporting of the news. There's no bringing back the questions that were asked and the responses that were given by the people they asked the questions to. A lot of hearsay. unknown sources. So really, it's not even reporting of news. That's gone. That's gone by the wayside. There's one girl on, or one woman on CNN, one reporter on not CNN, but CBS, Catherine, who's really a damn good reporter. She reports the news. And if there's anything I want to hear about, either at the Pentagon or the White House or what's happening in the FBI, I go to her because she reports the news. She asks the questions. She has her sources. She reports her sources. And she reports the news. That's a journalist. So, we have a problem. And it's called the ethics of journalism. And it's not being adhered to. There's no longer any ethics in journalism. I haven't seen any for a long time. Ever since we came to these 24-hour, 7 days a week news shows, or media outlets, I should say, journalism has gone by the wayside. What I really liked, when we had 9/11 and when we invaded Iraq with George Bush the First, we were there in the field. We were there seeing what was going on. Reporters were in the field. They were on the trucks heading across the desert. They were on the ground at 9/11. That was reporting. And then it went to hell. After that, they brought in all of these individuals that were supposed to be experts. And then they confused the whole process of being a commentary show instead of a news show. Ethics is so very important in all of our lives. Ethics in our work, ethics in our religion, ethics at home, ethics in how we treat other people. And now, as individuals, we have to develop our own ethics on the ethics of listening for news. Ethics in getting our own data, finding and digging our own data, because we're not getting it on the news stations anymore. So now we have to do our own due diligence on the news that is out there. And the majority of the time, what you will find is that there is no news. There is no professional ethics that are being followed in gathering the news. That the journalism of today is, I'm telling you again, it's no longer journalism. It's just people writing stories on how they believe. And that's where we get into a problem, because now we have people who have a microphone in front of them, who are using their power in front of that television camera, on that radio station, on that podcast, who have strayed from telling the truth, asking the right questions, doing the due diligence. So they give their commentary, as I'm doing now. And that commentary is basically on their own political view, their own political agenda or beliefs. I'll be the first to tell you, I am a podcaster. I'm not a news reporter. I don't gather the news, but I offer commentary a lot of times. I am a business individual who does a business podcast. And sometimes politics comes into play in my podcast because it affects your life and my life, your business and my business. And we have to speak up about it. So I use my podcast as a training tool. I'm not here to report the news. I'm not here to tell you what's right and wrong. That's up to you to have that ethical decision. just as it is that you have the ethical decision to determine what is ethical news and unethical news. The other issue is that you have to hold these news organizations accountable for what they do, what they say, what political agenda they're trying to push, what political candidate they're trying to support and put into office. That's not their job. They're deemed to be news organizations, not political agenda pushers. It's amazing how far we have become. We have come to the point where ethics must be considered in how we listen to the news. And we have to hold news organizations accountable ethically on how they do their work, how they do their job. Listen, this is Mike Lodge. My voice is just about ready to go. If you have any questions, send me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. Join me on my website at Lodge, LODGE-CO.com. Again, that's Lodge, LODGE-CO.com. Listen, everybody go out and have a great day. It's a Monday. We start out fresh. We are full of energy, ready to go. But let's be ethical. Let's be ethical on how we listen to the news. This is Mike Lodge. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye. This podcast is produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.